Could you ever imagine a conflict so enduring it has spanned over decades and generations? Welcome to the Israel-Hamas conflict. As we journey back to the mid-20th century, we find the roots of this unending conflict firmly planted in the aftermath of World War II. The year is 1948 and the United Nations votes to partition the British Mandate of Palestine into two new states, one Jewish, one Arab. Thus, the State of Israel is born. But this birth is not without its pains. For the Palestinians who have long called this land their home, the creation of Israel represents a massive displacement. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are uprooted, their homes and lands lost. This event, known in Arabic as the Nakba or catastrophe, becomes a defining moment in Palestinian history, setting the stage for the decades of conflict to follow. Fast forward to the late 1980s. Amidst the turmoil and tension, a new actor emerges on the Palestinian stage, Hamas. Initially a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, this Islamist political organization quickly gains traction, presenting itself as a resistance movement against what it perceives as Israeli occupation. Hamas's rise does not come without controversy. While some see it as a legitimate resistance movement, others view it as a terrorist organization. Its methods, which include suicide bombings and rocket attacks, have been widely condemned. Yet its popularity among Palestinians, particularly in the Gaza Strip, remains strong, fueled by a combination of political, social, and economic factors. And so, we find ourselves in the midst of a conflict that is both deeply complex and profoundly tragic. A conflict that has seen countless cycles of violence, each one leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. A conflict that has not only shaped the lives of millions, but has also had a profound impact on the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. This deep-seated conflict sets the stage for a series of events that have shaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Over the years, the Israel-Hamas conflict has been characterized by a recurring cycle of violence. To understand this cycle, we need to travel back to 1987, the year of the First Intifada. This was a period of heightened Palestinian resistance against Israeli occupation, marking a significant escalation in the conflict. Fast forward to 2006, when Hamas, an Islamist political organization, came to power. This marked a new chapter in the struggle, as Hamas was, and remains, fundamentally opposed to Israel's existence. In the same year, Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit was captured by Hamas, sparking a 5-year standoff that only ended with a high-profile prisoner exchange. The following year, in 2007, Hamas took complete control over the Gaza Strip, further complicating the dynamics of the conflict. Israel and Egypt responded by imposing a blockade on Gaza, which is still in effect today. The next major flashpoint came in 2008 and 2014, when Israel launched major military offensives in Gaza. These operations, aimed at neutralizing Hamas, led to a significant loss of life and widespread destruction. In 2018, Palestinians began a series of protests known as the Great March of Return. These protests, which called for the right of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes, were met with a strong Israeli military response. And then we have the conflict in May 2021, a deadly 11-day war that was sparked by tensions in Jerusalem and resulted in the deaths of more than 200 Palestinians and 12 Israelis. Each of these events, while distinct, are interconnected parts of a larger narrative of tension and turmoil. Fast forward to the present day, and the conflict shows no sign of resolution. Recent years have seen a distressing rise in violence, with both sides escalating their attacks. Israeli warplanes have carried out airstrikes in central Gaza, targeting training camps and underground sites used for rocket production. In response, rockets fired from Gaza have landed in southern Israel, causing property damage and raising fears of a wider conflict. The Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem's Old City has become a focal point of the rising tensions. This sacred site, cherished by both Palestinians and Israelis, has been the scene of numerous confrontations, exacerbating the already strained relations between the two sides. Adding fuel to the fire, an annual march by Israeli nationalists through the Old City has sparked controversy. Celebrating the capture of the Old City in the 60s, the march passes through the Muslim quarter, seen by many as a provocation and a religious affront. Despite calls for a rethink of the route due to potential risks, the march continues to be supported by the Israeli government, further deepening the divide. In the midst of this escalating conflict, the death toll continues to rise. A major flare-up in the summer of 2022 resulted in the deaths of around 30 Palestinians, marking the most serious escalation since the 11-day war of May 2021. Today, the Israel-Hamas conflict remains a volatile flashpoint, with every new incident adding another layer to this intricate tapestry of strife. But what does the future hold for the Israel-Hamas conflict? The horizon of this conflict fills us with uncertainty, as fears of a wider conflict grow like shadows at dusk. The escalating violence, the nationalist flag marches through Jerusalem's old city, the increasing tensions. All these factors are like sparks flying too close to a powder keg. There's a clear need for a rethink of actions that could potentially heighten the unrest. The implications of this ongoing feud are far-reaching, affecting not just the immediate region, but also the intricate web of international relations. Every rocket launched, every airstrike executed, sends ripples across the globe, touching distant shores and stirring international consciousness. Yet amid this turmoil, the need for dialogue becomes ever more pressing. It is through conversation, through understanding, that we can begin to untangle the threads of this complex narrative. The path to peace may be strewn with obstacles, but it is a path that must be taken nonetheless. For it is only through peaceful resolution that the cycle of violence can be broken. The Israel-Hamas conflict is a story of two sides, each with its own deeply rooted historical, cultural, and emotional ties to the same piece of land. It's a story that has been told and retold, with each new chapter adding to its complexity. As we continue to witness the unfolding of this complex narrative, one can only hope for a future where peace and coexistence replace conflict and division.